Hello and welcome in. I am your host, Pat Bradley, alongside my friends and co-hosts, Carl Mann and Tommy Sullivan. And this is the Three Man Rush Podcast, America's most beloved casual NFL gambling podcast for casual NFL gamblers. Tommy, Carl, without further ado, how are we feeling this week?
Wicked good. We had some bold predictions on the podcast last week. Everyone that listened got some free money. Receipts can be posted. But yeah, I was one game short of my bold 10-game win prediction. So I'm feeling really good. Tommy, how you feeling after last week?
Well, I'm feeling good that I called my shot that I was gonna start sucking again, and I did do that. I didn't get to 10 losses though, so that's good. So
I think this is the wrong podcast for you to tell us about how you started sucking again, but please elaborate.
That's the Three Man Gush podcast.
After starting at 500 for the year, I faltered down to a losing record in week 3.
You know, it's funny that we're talking about the Three Man Gush podcast since you went 6-9 on the week.
Oh yes, it was
interesting.
Yeah. The only nice thing about my week.
Yeah, you pushed all right. I bet you did. All right, well, that's enough of that. Before you turn us off with whoever is in the car, we're going to dive right in because it's week 4 of the NFL season, and Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins are 3-0. I said to you last week, if Tua and the Dolphins beat the Bills, we need to have like a whole other podcast with a whole other conversation about the Miami Dolphins. So that is exactly where we're going to start today. Carl, if our viewers are watching us at home, looks like you're repping Miami. So I'm just going to start with you. What were your takeaways from the Dolphins taking down the Bills?
All right. Number one takeaway for me was regarding our podcast, and I said we should avoid all the games that we agreed upon, and this was one of the games. We were all on the Bills, but I think it was more of a show me why they can be defeated. So I think we all knew that like the Dolphins could give them a run. At least somewhere in there we had that thought that it was going to happen. Division game, third game, the teams were playing good. Miami had been playing good. Buffalo, we wanted to see like if they could just keep up running over teams, and clearly they couldn't. It'll be interesting to see the Tua situation, not only with him recovering from the injury, but also how it gets handled with the league, because there's some talk about should he have been back in the game. And honestly, you could argue that played a factor in Miami winning that game. I mean, you don't want to see a team win or lose with an injury, but we'll see what happens this week if Teddy Bridgewater has to step in or if Tua is going to play and how that affects Miami's team. But overall, Miami's looking good. And we'll see if they can take care of business. They do have a short week coming up against Cincinnati on Thursday. So, we'll see how it goes. And if they can get past this week, I feel like that 10-day rest is going to be huge, whether Tua plays this week or not.
Tommy, do you agree with those takeaways about the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I think that they're in, obviously being one of 2 undefeated teams left, they're in prime position to get back to the playoffs, which I don't know how long it's been since they've made the playoffs in an NFL season. But yeah, I think we're on high alert for Tua's health for this week. I don't think he's going to play. But as Carl said, if they just take advantage of that, take the 10 days rest, I think they're going to be right back on track coming week 5.
How do we feel about the structure of the Dolphins roster without Tua, who was just okay this week? I don't think he was like special. And that's not to shit on Tua, who probably got concussed, might have an injured back, maybe a little bit of both. I don't know if we'll ever really get the truth. But regardless, he's hurt and he left the game because of that injury that he sustained. So again, not shitting on Tua, but he was not anything special performance-wise this week. So I don't know. are you fading the Dolphins? We'll talk about that pick later, but I mean, are you less confident in them against the Bengals this week with Teddy Bridgewater under center?
That last name you just mentioned is exactly why I'm less confident in them, because Tua's looked fine, but over the past few years of his career, Teddy Bridgewater has not looked fine. Because like people were saying when he was on with the Broncos that they had all the other pieces, he was the weakest link, but they could still make some noise even with him at quarterback, and they could not. And so I think that even though it's like not a similar construction, I think the talent level is similar. So I think that with him under center, I just don't trust that team.
Okay, so tell me this. Do we think through 3 weeks of the NFL season, the Dolphins are a better team than the Bills? I know it just happened on Sunday. So the results say, if we're going to keep it black and white, yes, they are. But do we agree with that? Are the Dolphins better than the Bills?
No, I think the Bills are a more complete team. I think we talked about it last week too, and like the offense really runs through Tyreek Hill and Waddle. And if they can get the ball in space and like make plays for them, it's going to work out. But their defense did look pretty good, holding Buffalo to whatever it was. I think it was 20 points or less. I'm not sure the final score, but definitely didn't score as many points as they have in previous weeks. So it is a good defense, I think. But again, it's when you get divisional matchups, you play teams over and over. You can game plan certain things. We are high on Mike McDaniel, so we'll see if he can continue to ride that. Again, that was our topic last week as well. If he can continue to like bring the best out of these players, they're playing really well for him. But I think overall the Bills are a better team. But like Tommy said, the Dolphins are in line for a playoff spot, so that doesn't mean they're a bad team either. I just think if we're comparing the two, I would take the Bills over Miami more times than not.
I pretty much agree with exactly what Carl said.
And it was in Miami this week, which again, you get early games in Miami with the heat. We saw like Stephon Diggs, we saw people cramping up. And again, it's almost like you can't go as hard as you want to early in the game because you need to save yourself for the end of the game. And regardless, by the end of the game, you're cramping up, you're sore, you're tired, you're dehydrated. They don't provide you any shade. I think you're on the sunny side of the stadium there in Miami. You have to bring your own like pop-up tent, like Little League Baseball, to keep yourself like somewhat cool.
Much, yeah.
So it's like, it's just one of those things where you deal with the conditions. And then again, I don't know when Miami has to come up to Buffalo, but they have to do the exact opposite when they get up here in the freezing cold. So could be a totally different game. And if later on in the season and in the playoffs, if Miami has to come up to Buffalo and play in the snow or the freezing cold, maybe they have to experience a little bit of that home field advantage on the other side.
So I don't want to take anything away from the Dolphins because regardless of circumstance, a win is a win. And I think I don't want to call it impressive fashion, but here's the takeaway for me. I think that Miami Dolphin defense is really legit. So here's what we need to know. Obviously, the Dolphins play in that heat every single week, so they're maybe a little bit more adjusted to it. But the Buffalo Bills outsnapped the Dolphins on offense 90-39. They had 51 more offensive plays than Miami did, and they still lost the game by 2. So what that tells me is that the Miami Dolphin defense is very impressive because while the Bills had a ton of injuries on their defense, right? Micah Hyde is out, I think, for the season now, right? Jordan Poyer missed the game. I'm not really sure how long he's going to be out. They still don't have Tre'Davious White. They had another cornerback break his hand or his wrist during that game. Like, people are getting injured all over the place on that Buffalo defense. We still didn't see the explosive Miami offense that we saw the week before against the Baltimore Ravens. So the biggest takeaway for me is that defense in Miami is legit because that is a high-powered Bills offense. Again, we saw some miscues, which I think we could attribute to the heat, right? Like Josh Allen had a go-ahead touchdown to Isaiah McKenzie that he just threw into the ground. Like, I don't even know. Like, you want to talk about accuracy problems? Like, if there's still a Josh Allen hater out there, they are putting that play on a loop and they are watching it every night until midnight. And then, of course, Gabe Davis dropped a touchdown in the end zone. A lot of issues there for Buffalo that need to be worked out. So maybe we attribute that to the heat. Here's the question. we think that this Bills team is really talented. We talked earlier in the year on the podcast about like, hey, maybe there's a chance that the Bills start the season 12-0. They could be looking at 16-0. Like the Bills are that talented. Their schedule is favorable enough in theory. I don't know. After this loss, like, are we going to look back 3 months from now and say, wow, if they just could have gotten a handle in that Miami game, they could have gone 17-0 and they end the season 16-1. Is that on the table for these Buffalo Bills?
I don't know about an undefeated season, but I think that you could easily look back, like as quickly as this week, you could look back and be like, wow, they gave away a game where Miami's punter punted the ball into a blocker's butt, which those type of plays quality teams don't usually commit. So it's just one of those where it could be more that Buffalo gave it away than Miami won it.
Fair enough. Keep an eye on the Miami Dolphins. Everything went wrong for them this week, and they scratched and clawed out a win against what we pretty much across the board think is probably the most talented roster in the NFL. So keep an eye on them. All right. Moving on, Carl, I just want to circle back there. You talked about how poorly we tend to do when we all agree on a pick. Last week, that was the Buffalo Bills who lost, the LA Chargers who lost big time, and the Houston Texans who pushed. So we went 0-2-1 on picks that we all agreed on. So when there is a consensus, fade the three-man rush. That's all we're going to tell you for now. Excellent. I think I wanted to talk about Bucks and Packers, but really what I need to talk to you guys about, Carl, how about your Jacksonville Jaguars? Last week predicting that you're out there, you're like, this is a stretch.
Wait, you talking about the Colts?
No. I'm talking about your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh, my Jaguars. Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. Well, we can talk about your Colts and how they hurt my Chiefs later on. I'm kind of offended that you brought that up so early in the podcast. But no, your Jacksonville Jaguars walloped the Chargers, or at least what's left of the Chargers, 38-10. So I'm going to put you on the spot right now. You put them in the top 4 last week. Can the Jaguars not forget making the playoffs? Can the Jaguars make and win a playoff game this season, Carl?
Oh, man, that's a tough question. I mean, the way they're playing right now, maybe. I was high on the Chargers, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it more than not, but they have a lot of injuries, not only leading into the game, but coming out of that game. So did they play a full-strength Chargers team that would make the playoffs? No. But the Jaguars are looking legit. And if it wasn't for the Colts upsetting the Chiefs, they would look even more legit. Like everyone's talking about the Colts and their win, so it kind of takes away from what the Jaguars did versus a playoff team in the Chargers, or what we thought was going to be a playoff team. So, for now they are legit. And again, we'll see how the schedule pans out if they can continue to keep this run. But honestly, I feel like we might be in for a surprise for come playoff time for a lot of teams. Well, I said not a lot of teams, but I would say half of the playoff teams that we're going to see this year at the end of the season are teams that we maybe didn't Sharpie into that spot. Maybe we penciled them in. We talked about them. We might get some hype throughout the season, but this playoff list right now as of week 3 is wild.
Yeah, I mean, to add on to that, all they have to do is be the best team in their division, and their division isn't looking that like it's going to be anything special. I'd say through 3 weeks, they are the best team in the South. And if they keep that up, they guarantee themselves a home playoff game. So once that happens, anything's possible for that first round matchup.
I love that mindset. Anything's possible, Jacksonville. I think we're rooting for Jacksonville. This is not like that annoying Duval team. It's not the team that almost went to the Super Bowl and almost beat the Patriots. This is just kind of a fun, young, hungry team with Doug Peterson at the helm, who has a history of turning some franchises around, Philadelphia fans. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But here's my other question. And it's a 2-part question. One, is this the result of a slew of injuries for the LA Chargers? That's part 1. And number 2, are you concerned about the LA Chargers? Tommy, I'll start with you because that's your Super Bowl pick. So give me a temperature check. How are we feeling about the Chargers right now?
Yeah, we're at DEFCON 1 in terms of being concerned. They not having your left tackle for the rest of the season. I mean, your quarterback's already hurt. Now he's just more vulnerable to getting hurt. I forget who tweeted it, but they had, for the NFL preseason top 100 players, they had 7 players on that list, and 5 of them are currently injured. So it's just like another in a long list of years of bad luck for these Chargers. And it's looking like it's shaping up the same way that it has in years past.
Just to recap, they missed JC Jackson week 1 of the season, who I think is still like recovering on the field from offseason ankle surgery. Big free agent acquisition. Justin Herbert, might have heard of him. Basically has some broken ribs. And then the guy, we're going to get this right. We're not talking about Josh Allen this week, folks. We're talking about Justin Herbert, the same doctor that injected Tyrod Taylor when he broke a rib with painkillers. And they're in the process punctured his lung, which therefore gave rookie Justin Herbert a shot at the starting job. I'm not a year early on that. That's the correct timeline, right?
Yep.
Like, was it
it
week
was
1?
year.
Okay.
Yep.
That same doctor was the one who was then injecting I almost said Josh Allen, Justin Herbert's ribs. I've gone completely haywire with the two of them now after last week. Who was then injecting Justin Herbert's ribs this week. They said they had like an MRI type of thing, like an imaging machine, so that the doctor didn't puncture another lung. I don't know how good I would feel about that. That's really neither here nor there, because as far as we know, his lung was not punctured. But that's just kind of a microcosm of the Chargers at this point. And then Joey Bosa left the game because of a groin injury, which he is undergoing additional tests. We have not heard about the severity, but I don't know if it sounds great. All-pro left tackle Rashawn Slater with a biceps injury. I think he might be out for the season.
He's on IR, yep.
Okay. And then Jalen Guyton, who's not a world beater, but he matters, tore his ACL in the game on Sunday, and he is now on injured reserve. I guess the good news is that Keenan Allen, who missed last week, is coming back. But Keenan Allen is sort of like a glass cannon, right? I mean, you never know. A lot of firepower, very easily breakable. So it's not looking great for the Chargers at this point. Carl, do you have anything to add to that groundbreaking analysis?
Honestly, nothing to add, but impressive analogy. I don't know. I didn't pass English. Is that what it was when you said glass cannon? Very good. Very unique. Was not expecting it. It caught me off guard, but I like it. It was good.
The only thing I would add is that you also don't have a lot of faith in the coaching staff leaving all those injured players in when the game was very much over by the fourth quarter.
We're going to talk about coaches here in a minute. That's on my agenda. I didn't tell you guys about this, but we're going to do that because Brandon fucking Staley, how dumb can you get?
Yeah, that was bad.
Okay. All right. We're going to move on to the next topic here. Give me your takeaways from the Packers beating the Bucs. I'm going to start. I'll lead us off this time. It would be great if Tom Brady had not taken a break and showed up to practice every day, which I think he's doing now. So thanks for heeding my warning and my rant, Tom. We appreciate that. But honestly, like, pull it the fuck together. But number two, these two teams have championship, like legitimate Super Bowl caliber defenses that are already in, I would say, late season form. They look really great right now. But it's a battle of the offenses. And I thought about this a lot today because it's really easy for me to say, and anyone to say, well, let's not worry about the Buccaneers because look at all the injuries that they have. They just need to get healthy and then they'll be fine. But how many times have we said that about NFL teams? I mean, how many years in a row have we said that about like the Chargers, right? Who maybe we jumped the gun on, who missed the playoffs last year and we thought would be in the Super Bowl. And, can't blame them. They can't stay healthy. But the point is, I don't want to raise the alarms for the Buccaneers because, again, if they are healthy, they can make a strong push to come out of the NFC. But that's a big if with a lot of guys that are struggling with injuries throughout their career. So is their defense and, Russell Gage enough to take them far this season? Like an NFC championship game? Carl, tell me, I don't know, what's the ceiling for the Bucs how do you feel about their injuries and about where they stand right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think their biggest loss this past week wasn't an injury. It was the suspension of Mike Evans. And like, I don't know. I mean, it was a close game. It's two tough teams. They're playoff teams. They're playoff contenders. I have them, like, again, we'll see what happens, but I have them penciled in for the championship game against each other. So I think this was a preview of, like, winner goes to the Super Bowl. So take that into consideration. Not a full threat offense for the Bucs. And early in the season, the cohesiveness, the maybe not wanting to give stuff away, which again, Rodgers said he saw stuff on the Jumbotron, so maybe they did give too much away. But, if that situation happens later on down the road, now you have 6 plays off of that one play that you ran. And what play did they run from the 7-yard line? Would they have run that from the 2-yard line? Everything's going to be a little bit different. So
it's a lot of variables.
There's so many variables. It's a long season. If they end up playing each other again in the playoffs, whether it's in the, championship game to go to the Super Bowl, or if it's in the first round because one of them doesn't win their division for whatever reason, we'll see. But I think it's going to be a long season. There's going to be ups and downs. Injuries are going to come in and go. Aaron Rodgers could get hurt and be out for a couple weeks, and the Packers could stall, or he could lose one of his receivers that he already doesn't have. So I don't know. Their receiving cores are very thin comparatively to what they've had as firepower in previous seasons. So maybe just building that rapport over the course of the season is going to play more of a factor than early on in week 3 of the season.
I will wrap up the Buccaneers with 2 thoughts here. And then Tommy, I want to ask you a little bit more about the Packers. Number one, it's a damn shame that Tom Brady and his wife aren't talking, because someone needs to remind people that Tom Brady can't throw the ball and catch the ball too. So if people could show up, stop getting hurt, and maybe practice with him, that would be great. Number 2, we're going to maybe get into this a little bit later, but obviously sounds like some devastating news for the New England Patriots with Mac Jones, who's going to be out for a while with that ankle. And this is a team that is not very good, but has a lot of depth at wide receiver. So could either one of these teams, specifically the Buccaneers with the injuries on that receiving core, Julio Jones allegedly has like a partial tear in his PCL, in a knee ligament. We have no idea what's going on with the hamstring after the ACL recovery for Chris Godwin. So a lot of question marks there in the receiving core. Could we see a Patriots receiver, maybe say the maligned, apparently, Kendrick Bourne or a Nelson Aguilar be shipped out to Tampa Bay later on?
Or if Mac Jones needs to be shut down for the year, could we see a Bucs quarterback get shipped up to where he used to play in New England? Have a little homecoming for one more year?
Don't you tempt me with a good time like that, Thomas. That's not even funny to joke about.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Wow, everybody's being mean to me early on the podcast. You're going to derail me, and I'm just going to start talking about Tom Brady coming back to New England, and it's not something that we can allow happen tonight, because we're trying to do this a little bit quicker. So let me ask you instead, you fucking son of a bitch. I can't even talk. God, I need a moment. Put it on ice. So while I do that, tell me about the Packers. Those receivers, Aaron Rodgers looks like he's kind of in sync with that receiving core, which, maybe those 11 days in training camp helped.
This game reminded me of way back when the Patriots played the Packers and Devontae Adams was either a rookie or a second-year wide receiver. They were missing Jordy Nelson and I believe Randall Cobb in that game, and he popped off. And I hadn't heard of him at that point, and look at what he's blossomed into. This game reminded me of that with Romeo Doubs. 8 targets, 8 catches. He looks like he has instant rapport with Rodgers, and I think this could be a jumping off point for his career, because even in camp there were whispers that he was going to make some noise this year.
Is that Packers offense enough on top of their defense to carry them to an NFC title game?
I believe so. Yeah, I think with Rodgers has done this before. And I think that he could do it again. I don't want to say get it too far ahead of myself, but the potential is definitely there for sure.
And of course, there's the all-important tiebreaker that the Packers now own if they should need it down the line against the Buccaneers. So critical there for sure. All right. A really abysmal Sunday night football game with the 49ers and the Broncos. So I'm just going to ask you guys, any of you speak up. Tell me what we think. 49ers, Broncos. Are we sure they're good?
Yeah, I will. So I'll take my statistics from DVOA, which is like DVOA statistics from Football Outsiders. Mm-hmm. And San Francisco is ranked 9th in total DVOA. Denver is ranked 10th, right? We'll talk about this in a second, but their offensive DVOA, San Francisco 23rd, Denver 22nd, so that's bottom third. But their defense is San Francisco number 3 in defensive DVOA, and Denver number 5. So what it basically says is offense is not good, but their defense is carrying it, keeping them in games, and their offense is doing just enough to win the games. And obviously we've seen that with Denver specifically winning by what a total. I think they have, I don't know their exact margin of victory, but they must have like a negative margin of victory. True. Their margin for points for and against has to be negative. They've won games by what? 1 and I don't know, 2. I don't know. Yeah. What did they win in week 2 by? They lost by a touchdown in week 1.
Regardless.
So they're not, right. They're a 2-1 team that has not put points on the board. And then San Francisco is sitting there at 1-2, right? But they've got a new quarterback. That offense could start coming together now that they have Jimmy G back. First week of practices with the first team reps. So they'll get back in sync, and I think they'll start winning some games too. I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about Russell Wilson having the offseason, coming in, having 3 weeks, and still putting up less than 15 fantasy points. So that's where I'm at.
Like
selfishly.
Total at this point, basically, more or less.
Yeah, basically. Do we want to just quickly address the fantasy football situation that we had this week in our fantasy league, Pat?
Why not? I mean, why not?
Commissioner Pat.
It was kind of a devastating loss for you, unfortunately. So to sum it up for our listeners, for a long time we've lost points for when a kicker misses a field goal, but for some reason we never lost any points when kickers missed a PAT. And this year I took it upon myself. We usually vote on things, but I happened to notice, like the night before the draft, maybe right before the draft, that wasn't in place. And so I said, well, if a field goal is a full point, then we'll just make a PAT half a point loss. And so I added 0.5 to the scoring category for missed PAT. What I didn't do is add that little minus sign, that little dash that takes away points when someone misses a kick. So for the first 3 weeks of the season, anytime a kicker missed a PAT, they gained half a point, which when you think about it, actually means it's kind of a net point gained overall for the person, because not only did they not lose half a point from the miss, they then also gained a half a point because of the miss. So it's an extra 1 point. And we had a very close matchup this week where Carl was facing our dear friend John. And you
well, the missed extra point happened at the 1 o'clock game from the best kicker in the league, arguably
Justin Tucker,
statistically,
on your team.
Ever.
Maybe ever. Yeah.
In a game, in an extra point that meant nothing in the game, they should have just knelt the ball on a 2-point conversion, if you ask me.
Something about Ravens kickers missing, field goals, kicks in New England. It's weird.
So he doinks it off the upright, and I gain a half point, which is fantastic. We talked about in the group chat. We're like, ha, ha, ha. This is going to be so funny. Like, whatever. Obviously, if it's a close game, we'll have to adjust the score, whatever.
Meanwhile, I tell you, this is my nightmare. I have been like maniacally watching all of the kicker scores, all of our starting kickers the entire season, praying that this doesn't happen. And of all the fucking kickers to do it, it's Justin Tucker.
In a game that we're all watching because we're all Patriots fans. So
exactly. So
everybody saw my kicker.
Everybody knows that it happened. Like, I couldn't possibly get away with nobody noticing. It was like a stamp on my forehead. You fucked up, Kamish. Good job by you. And then we get to the nightcap, the end of the day, and you happen to be ahead. What was it, like 101?
101.26.
to 100.60. So you were winning by literally 0.66 points.
The devil's number.
The devil's number, which is fitting because I was able to adjust the score. You lost the net point and you wound up losing that game 100.26 to 100.6, like literally like 0.34 fantasy points. If you're still with us and haven't turned us off, is that not the most ridiculous? Like somebody call Matthew Berry, somebody call Field Yates. I'm literally wearing his t-shirt right now. And it's unfucking believable that the one time this season that it's happened happened in the closest game we may ever have. Unbelievable.
Crazy.
Do you have anything else that you want to say about that?
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Good answer. Good answer.
If it helps, I can bring it back to real-time football.
Please bring us back on the rails.
The Broncos have the second least points allowed in the entire league with 36. Their point differential is only +7 because they've only scored 43, which might also be second worst.
There you go.
There it is. Who is your way too early through 3 weeks of the season MVP? And I'm just gonna give you options. Is it Jalen Hurts or is it Lamar Jackson?
I think right now you got to go Lamar Jackson statistically.
Yeah.
So that's my answer. Lamar Jackson.
I'm in the same boat. It's by every metric, it's Lamar.
If it's not one of those two, who is it?
It's still Josh Allen. For me.
Have his odds gotten any better?
I didn't even look because really it's a two-man race. Before going into this week, I would have asked you, and I might have asked, I think I did ask you last week, if Tua should be part of that conversation. We'll see how that progresses. Like if the Dolphins somehow win the AFC East and Tua doesn't really miss much time with this injury and continues to perform, could Tua be the MVP? Is there a world? Do you see it happening?
In the conversation, yeah. I don't know about MVP as a whole.
Okay. And is it worth a little long shot cheddar to look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence on the should be 3-0 Jaguars?
Yes.
Should we make that a t-shirt? Jacksonville should be 3-0 Jaguars.
I think we should. I think that's the merch we're looking for.
Especially when you consider the pieces surrounding him on offense. I mean, Christian Kirk and Zay Jones are talented players, but they're not. It's not Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll take that. So right now we are in agreement. It sounds like it's Lamar Jackson. Statistically it's Lamar. We'll see how good the Ravens are. They are as injured as, or almost as injured as, the Chargers, and I think, as we all know, the record's going to play a big part in that. So right now, I think I lean Jalen Hurts, who has taken a leap. I asked if he could play real football and not fantasy football many times in the preseason. I said I didn't know. So far, I've been very wrong. So Jalen Hurts, top of my ladder at the moment.
And when it comes to Lamar for a season long, his usage is scary to see if he can hold it up for 16 weeks.
It's a lot to put on him. And look, I told you in the preseason pod that nobody ever heard that it's not out of the realm of possibility for Lamar to have a monster contract year and do this. And that's exactly what he's doing. My wife has him in fantasy football. I played my wife in fantasy football this week, and my wife kicked my fucking ass at fantasy football this week. So I don't know. You win some, you lose some. Thanks a lot, Lamar. You killed my team. You killed my fantasy team. And so now I'm just going to pick you against you in week 3 NFL odds. The end. With that, it's time to move into everybody's favorite part of the show. We are going to recap our week 3 records, our overall records, and then pick every single game around the NFL for week 4. All right.
Just go into the week 4 picks. You
know what? I'll spare you because we talked at the top about during the 3-man Gush podcast, we discussed your record. The one thing that I'll add here is that while Carl was 1 win away from that 10-win prediction, your boy was also 9-6-1 on the week, which means I have now moved up into a tie for second place with Tommy. Tommy and I share that spot. We are 22-25-1 overall. And no surprise, Carl Mann is taking the lead. He is now above 500 on the season after back-to-back 9-win weeks. He is 24-23-1. So good for you, Carl. You also had a couple of dollar bill island wins that last week. You were the only one on that island. So you have really extended your lead here. You added 3 of them, and I believe, I don't even think I updated this properly. I think you now have 8 of them on the season, if I'm correct.
Probably.
So $8 dollar bill islands for Carl, 5 for me, 3 for Tommy. We'll get to our best bets a little bit later on. But for now, we're going to dive right into Thursday night football with the aforementioned Miami Dolphins taking on the Bengals, who are right now 4-point favorites on Thursday night football. The total in this game is 47 points. So, Tommy, I'm just going to start with you. We've talked a lot about the Dolphins so far. Can they carry it on a short week with or without Tua? Like, give me a read on this game.
Yeah, I think I don't think Tua is going to play personally, and I think that that's going to be a huge difference maker for them. And I think that the 4-point spread is just a little bit too small for my liking, so I'll take the Bengals at there in those 4 points.
So you're going to lay those points.
Yeah,
you're willing to lay those points, and you think that the Bengals are going to cover.
Yeah, I always word it wrong, but I'm taking the Bengals at -4.
Just making sure I understand, so that I can't be accused of cheating later on.
Yes.
Great. Okay, Carl.
All right. So no excuses for this whole podcast, but I am the least confident in all of my picks this week. Last week, I felt like I was going to have 10 wins. This week, it feels like I'm going to have 3 wins. So with no confidence behind any of these picks, I'm going to go with the Bengals this week. I think that short week for the Dolphins, coming off of what is probably going to feel like a Super Bowl victory for them, going on the road. So traveling from Miami up to Cincinnati. Cincinnati is hopefully going to come into form now that they've had 3 weeks to kind of get their feet underneath them. They didn't play well in the first 2 weeks, and they arguably had a little bit of a layup matchup this third week with the Jets. But, we'll see. Maybe these are like their 3 preseason games, and now they're ready to kick it on against Miami. So it's kind of hard to imagine Cincinnati starting the season 1-3. It was also hard to imagine Miami starting 3-0. So this could be one game where everyone is going to take those points with Miami, Tua or not. And I would like to be on the other side of that with Cincinnati, even if it is with Tommy. So,
Ouch.
Okay. So here's this is completely selfish. I would like to motion the board here to maybe take this one off the board entirely, because we don't know if Tua is going to play. And I think that's going to play a huge factor here. Of course,
can we take the Chargers Jaguars game off from last week also?
Also true, yeah.
We'll discuss at a later point when we're not live recording this podcast. That's not a bad considering we all lost.
We need to keep it for the 69 jokes.
Fuck. All right. Sorry, Tommy. It's going to stay. All right. Then this one's on the board. So here's the thought process. Thinking that Tua was healthy because he went back in the game. Stupid me. Silly me. Why would I think that? I was like, the Dolphins look really fucking good. They just beat probably the best team in football in the Buffalo Bills. And the Bengals, if not for as much as I hyped up the Jets last week, I even took the Jets. Regret that one. Could have had my 10-win week. Their only win of the season is against the New York fucking Jets. So I don't really feel great about the Bengals, and I do feel good about the Dolphins. But now Tua is not going to play. So when I guessed these lines, I said, okay, well, I think this should be like Miami by 4 to 5 points, right? 5.5 maybe. And then it was the Bengals by 3, which is now extended to 4. Bengals by 4. I almost drove straight to New Hampshire and hammered the Dolphins getting all those points. But without Tua, I'm kind of scared. So here's what I'll tell you. Weird things happen on Thursday nights. I'm going to regret this, and I should take the Bengals at home. But I'm going to go on the island, and I'm going to take the points with the Miami Dolphins. Give me those 4 points. Teddy Bridgewater just needs to be a game manager with a not yet great Bengals defense, and that Dolphins defense is just going to run shit and put Joe Burrow in the ground. So put it in the books. That might be my best bet of the week. I am going with the Dolphins, Tua or not, taking the points on Thursday Night Football. Wrap it up.
Really quick. So far, all of the favorites have won on Thursday night so far. So no, one not necessarily covered. The Chargers covered the plus odds.
All right.
But give me 13 seconds here, and I'm going to tell you right now what the money line would be if you'd be willing to pay for it. So the money line for Cincinnati would be minus 205. I do not think that's a smart idea. And I also
just because there isn't value, right?
Correct. But if you're looking at it, and we'll probably release this pick on the Instagram story on Thursday.
At 3-Man Rush. Give us a follow.
At 3-Man Rush on Instagram. I don't necessarily hate the over in this game. So I might personally drop the line down a little bit for the total, take the over, and then take the Bengals money line and see what odds you can get that way. Maybe you can get a little bit closer to even. We'll see what those numbers actually look like on the Instagram specifically. And that'll probably be my bet for the week, or for Thursday, not for the week, but Bengals money line and the over with the points taken down a little bit to help myself out is what
I'm thinking. Just taking an alternate total, or are you going to tease that and give the Bengals 2 points?
I'll probably drop it down to 42. 42 is like a nice number, so I probably go money line in 42, over 42, Bengals money line, and the over 42 in the game.
And parlay the alternate line. So we're not talking about a tease.
Technically no. Technically
Okay.
Not a tease because I'm not doing the 6 and 6. I'll just drop those down if you can. If your book allows it. I don't know. I use BetMGM. We sometimes use DraftKings, Caesar Sportsbook. Whoever wants to sponsor us, we'll use them exclusively.
Absolutely true. Give us the money and we are loyal. We are loyal. 3-Man Gush podcast. Onlyfans.com/3-Man Rush. I don't hate that for a tease idea, though. Speaking of teases in our OnlyFans, I mean, I don't know. Can we get the Dolphins getting 10 points and then the total over 41? That's not an awful bet either.
Not
120,
awful.
minus 130. Maybe put a little bit of cheddar on that on Thursday night. We'll see. All right. Great. I love that. Thank you for the thought process and the value there. Coach Carl, we love that. Why am I calling you coach? Because you're in the lead? I don't know. That's moving on. Our game of the week here, or it would be if anybody was healthy and could play. The Kansas City Chiefs, my Kansas City Chiefs are favored by 2 points over my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What is Pat to do? This is Sunday Night Football. The total is 45. We might have a fucking hurricane coming through. I don't know where this game is going to be played. It might be in Miami. That's where the Buccaneers are practicing this week. So far, the game has not been moved. They are anticipating playing in Tampa, but Mother Nature is a fickle bitch. So, Carl, why don't you lead us off and tell me more about who you're taking in this game?
So, at Tampa Bay getting 2 points, I have the Tampa Bay covering that spread. I think Tampa Bay wins this outright, regardless of where it gets played. I think when the line opened, if I remember correctly, it was Tampa -2. I don't know if that's recently changed or when it opened, but I read online here that it was a -2 open, which is a little bit more in line with what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be on Tampa Bay here. But anytime you have two really good teams playing, it's tough to even try and bet on it. So I may stay away from it. I think people might be a little bit down on Kansas City, but they're also down on Tampa Bay. So it kind of balances itself out because Tampa Bay couldn't take care of business either. I don't know. People could think this is a bounce back for Kansas City after their loss last week. I'm just going to ride with Tampa Bay and we'll see what happens. Probably not an actual bet game, but for the podcast, give me Tampa Bay by a field goal. They're getting points, so it doesn't matter, but Tampa Bay by a field goal.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I'm going to keep it real simple that I think the Buccaneers have a championship caliber defense. I don't think the Chiefs do. And I think their offense, like there's a giant chasm of talent differential between those two defenses. And I don't think that difference exists on, like the Chiefs can't make that up on offense. So especially if I'm getting 2 points on the Tampa side, I'll take that for sure.
The problem there is the Bucs can't really make it up on offense either. And that would even out if you were correct about the chasm on that defense, which you are not. The Kansas City Chiefs defense is very, very good. It is underratedly good, and I think that's going to continuously prove itself throughout the season. That said, you are correct that it is not the Buccaneers defense, which is probably, it's at the very least one of the best in the NFL. And it's currently healthy, which is really important. I don't know what to make of this. I mean, we're going to have Mike Evans back for Tampa Bay, but then I don't know. So you take out Mike Evans and then Rashad Perryman is going to beat the Chiefs, Russell Gage in his hurt hamstring. I don't know. My initial thought was, even with the injuries, that these teams might be somewhat even on paper. I think both very good defenses, edge to the Bucs, and should be very good offenses, edge to the Chiefs. So therefore, I assumed that at home, the Buccaneers getting Mike Evans back would at least get like 2.5 points, be laying 2.5 points at home on Sunday Night Football. The line opened with the Chiefs at 2.5. It's down to Chiefs by 2. Is that enough points for me to take the Buccaneers? Listen, I made the mistake. Well, not the mistake. I won it last week. I said, how often do you have a chance to bet Tom Brady when he's only laying 2 points? This week, Tom Brady at home is getting 2 points and his number one wide receiver back, which means fade the 3-man rush because we all agree I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't feel great about it. I had to make a pick. I've been talking about this for too long. I could talk about it for another hour because I think this is going to be the hardest game to pick and project this season, given the circumstances. Maybe. Job by you, Vegas. We all agree on the Bucs, so everybody go hammer the Chiefs immediately. Love that. Okay, moving on. Carl's Jacksonville Jaguars are headed to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles, who are favored by 6.5 points. No love for Jacksonville. It's the Doug Peterson reunion game. I mean, come on, Tommy, the former king of reunion games. This is a 1:00 special for us. So, I mean, you got to be, I don't know, what side of the reunion are you on? Is it the Doug Peterson side? I just told you the coaching doesn't matter, so maybe it doesn't. Are you on the Eagles side? Walk me through it.
Wow, you called it for me. Forgive me for I have sinned. I'm back to my old ways of revenge narratives. I am going to take the Jags because I think that is a big spread. I think the Eagles are still going to win, but I think Doug Peterson is going to get he's going to put some money on the board. He's going to get this team up to play. They're going to stay competitive throughout, and I just think 6.5 is too many points to lay, considering the outside factors involved. Even though I love my Eagles, but.
All right, Tommy, ladies and gentlemen, Tommy has claimed the Philadelphia Eagles.
I mean, you've claimed every other team in the league, so
just the good ones. Carl, tell me about your Jacksonville Jaguars and whether or not you agree with Tommy.
Well, I think like on a neutral site, it's probably about a touchdown game. So with it being in Philadelphia, I'm going to give them the slight edge. So City of Brotherly Love, they're going to welcome back Doug Peterson with open arms. You know, he took care of them so well while he was there. But then they're going to just kind of take care of business and, I mean, hopefully cover this spread for me. 6.5 touchdown covers it. Maybe they can win by 10 and not give up like a late touchdown for a backdoor cover. That would be fantastic. I don't know, man. Philadelphia's offense is looking pretty good.
I did forget about Philly fans and their penchant to welcome opposing people into their abode. They're some of the nicest around for sure.
Love Santa Claus. They're his favorite.
These people booed Santa Claus and threw snowballs and beer cans at him. How do we feel about Doug Peterson walking back in?
He's gonna know what the real Philly special is this Sunday. Let me tell you.
And if you want to know what the real Philly special is, tune into onlyfans.com/3-man-rush. Okay.
Wit whiz.
Sorry, say that again.
I said wit whiz. Philadelphia reference.
Yep. Okay.
I think it's whiz wit, but who cares?
Yeah, Philadelphia is a weird place. So is our OnlyFans.
If you're listening in Philadelphia, send us a message on Instagram.
You have to open that one. I'm not doing it. Okay. I have no idea. We're off the rails. We've been off the rails. We're
making great time, though.
No, we're not.
We haven't even gone to Dan O'Connor's Raiders yet.
No, and we're not going to because they're terrible. Fuck it. I hate this. I think these defenses are good. I think it's going to be a real test of the Jaguars defense. Jalen Hurts has looked great. I don't feel good about anything. I don't know what to do. Give me the Jags to cover. I'm just going to go with it. I have to make a decision. Give me the Jags to cover. So Carl's got the dollar bill. I own with the Eagles. Might be the easiest win of the season for him. I'm going to regret this entirely. Again, a game that we could talk about for hours here and the ins and outs of it. But, I was going to say that's not what we do here, but we do go on and on for hours. So without further ado, let me move on and talk about the Buffalo Bills, that injured defense. We talked about them. We covered them. They're only favored by 3 points heading into Baltimore, and another 1 o'clock special. Total here is 51.5 points. Carl, why don't you lead us off here? Kind of weird to see the Bills only favored by 3, but I think maybe those injuries has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. And I mean, man, I didn't take really the injuries into account, but I think I'm gonna take the Ravens in this. I have them on my spreadsheet here, not winning the game, but covering. But usually when my spreadsheet says that, I end up just betting them money line anyway if I think they're going to cover the spread. So I'd like to see the Ravens here. I'll take the 3. If it ends in 3 and we get a push, that's perfect for me. But like I said, in this case, if I'm actually going to bet it, I might put straight money on the Ravens to win this game and not even lay the points. Because I feel like if it's going to be a close enough game, I don't think the 3 points is going to make a difference for them. I think the Ravens are either going to win it or it's probably going to be more than just a 3-point game. The way that Buffalo plays, they don't play many close games. It was lucky to be a close game versus Miami.
It's a really good point, and I wish I had done my homework on this one, but really, like the last several close games that Buffalo has had, I think they've lost. Right. There's been and some of them to bad teams. Right. There was like a 9-6 loss to.
How about the Patriots last year in like the freezing cold?
There you go. The Patriots. I think Buffalo lost to was it the Jaguars? Was it like the 9-6 game against the Jaguars? I think they lost the game to the Steelers last year with Ben Roethlisberger's corpse. Again, different year, different team, different season, and we know that the Bills are better this year, but there's a lot of injuries there, and I don't know. Tommy, what do you think?
Yeah, this is a really tough one. But I think I'm also going to take the Ravens here. It just seems like their players are improving, but it doesn't seem like any of them are slam dunks to play. And if that defense is even a little hampered with the way Lamar Jackson's going, he could steamroll a little bit over them. I think they're still going to be healthy like for the rest of the season going forward, but for this week with the point spread that low and the Ravens getting 3 points, I'll take Baltimore.
It's open at 3.5 for the Bills. It's down to 3, which means people are betting the Ravens, which doesn't make me feel good. What else? Like the other thing that doesn't make me feel good about this is that once again we are all going to go with the Ravens because that's my pick. So I don't know. I think I think America needs to bet the Chiefs and the Bills.
Like a little parlay.
Although that was like the money line parlay of the century last week, Chiefs and Bills, and both of them lost. So who knows? Maybe this is the comeback of the consensus 3-man rush. But I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. That offense is explosive, and the Bills defense is banged up, and they're on the road. And I don't know, maybe listen, the Bills could be blowing them out, and then maybe Lamar comes in with that backdoor cover. I have a bad feeling that it's going to wind up like they make a monstrous storming back comeback and lose by like 4. And we're gonna miss out on this cover by a single point. But for now, I'm gonna go with the Ravens and call it a day. So keeping score at home, bet the Chiefs against the Bucks and bet the Bills against the Ravens. Hashtag fade the 3-man rush. It's probably not a good sign when we like have a hashtag in week 4 of the season to just fade our picks when we all agree and we claim to be America's most beloved NFL gambling podcast. Probably not a great sign. All right, we have a London game this week, gentlemen. I don't know, like London's like, I don't know, Thursday on steroids. Weird things happen in London where we have my Minnesota Vikings favored by 3 against the New Orleans Saints. Total here is only 43.5 points. It is a 9:15 a.m. Eastern time kickoff, so we get to wake up with some football on Sunday morning. Tommy, why don't you lead us off here and give me your take?
So originally I was going to say that I wanted to take the Saints and the points. But yeah, they just haven't shown enough. I don't like Jameis traveling that much with a broken back is actually not going to be great at all. So now that I've jogged my own memory on that one, I'm going to take the Vikings for sure and give me the Vikings even laying those 3 points.
Carl, do you agree?
What's the time difference between here and London? Like, what time is that game being played?
I believe it's 6 hours.
It's 5 or 6 hours depending on the time of the year, but time is in it.
Do we get like reverse primetime Kirk Cousins in the morning? Is like primetime Kirk Cousins also show up at 9 a.m.? Like, is it like anytime it's not 1 or 4? Like, do we get like a window of like opportunity?
Does it count if it's still like a 1:15 start in London?
Which it will be. It'll be 2:15 actually because it's 5 hours.
Okay.
You know what? I'm still gonna go with the Saints. Sunday morning for church. It's a holy time. Let's take the religious team on a Sunday morning. It's take me to church, New Orleans Saints.
Their quarterback is a burglar. So
yeah, it's okay though. He eats dubs.
Oh boy.
So give me the Saints plus the points for the pod. And again, I'll probably, if I'm going to bet this in real life, just throw a little bit of money on it because the more underdogs you bet, the less you have to hit to win.
Wow. Next week on How to Lose Money, we tell you about lighting it on fire. I'm just going to go with the Vikings here.
Yes, love to see it.
Fucking A.
I'll throw extra money on this one. I'll be a millionaire by noon.
And you can put it all in the collection basket when you make your way to church to give thanks. Despite their struggles, I'm still high on the Vikings. This is a good defense in New Orleans. I think I could regret that, but I don't know. Maybe London is just the renaissance that the Purple People Eaters have needed. I don't know. I want to make a better joke about taking over London and the Norwegians and Scandinavians, and I got nothing. So Vikings, I'll lay the points, and we can move on. This one we thought was really weird. Monday Night Football. The LA Rams are underdogs heading to San Francisco to take on Jimmy Garoppolo and the San Francisco 49ers, who are favored by 2 points. And I guess we think this is going to be a defensive matchup. Carl, you talked about that DVOA earlier, and remind me, I think the 49ers are in the top 5, top 3.
Top 10, they're number 9. Oh, number 9 overall, but yeah. Like
overall, but their defense is like, three or 5, somewhere around there. So why don't you lead us off here? Kind of a weird, it's weird either way, right? Like these 2-point numbers, like Vegas is just like, pick a side. We'll make money either way. So which side are you going to take?
Yeah. I don't know. I have a slight edge to the Rams. But but I don't know. I think like it's tough with home field advantage in these matchups, and I really want to take the favorite, but we'll see what the line looks like Monday night when we actually have to like place this bet in real life. Because we're degenerates and we bet on every single primetime game just because we have to, and by we I mean me. Hopefully Kayla doesn't listen to this episode of the podcast. But I think I'm going to take the Rams. Honestly, it looks like the line's creeping up to like 2.5. So the more I wait, the better number I think I'm going to get. But again, we'll see what it looks like come game time. I'm going to take the Rams right now. And again, if I have some fun money to play with, I'll probably just put the money on the money line. So
we love fun money. Can you tell our listeners about fun money?
Oh yeah, fun coupons. Basically, whenever you place a bet and you have money in your account, whether you net positive or negative, it's just free money because it's already in there. Why not spend it?
Okay. Especially when you win. If you've already won the money, it's money you didn't have before. Yeah. It's already money that you lost by depositing it. So
100%. That's really what gambling
money.
Right? That's really what gambling money should be anyway. It shouldn't be money that like you like need to have to live. I mean, if that's then you definitely want to call that hotline. What
1-800-GAMBLER. There's a lot of different lines for a lot of different states, but I think if you call 1-800-GAMBLER, they can get you the help you need.
Are you trying to tell me something?
Tommy, what's your pick for this game?
So for me, this game, it just I like you let off with it. Doesn't really make sense to me why the 49ers are favored here. I mean, their quarterback literally ran out of the back of the end zone to end the game.
Hey, Jimmy Garoppolo put his foot down on racism, and I respect him for it.
Well, even if he didn't do that, he would have thrown a pick six. So be like, so I just don't understand.
An all-time bad play. In one play, they showed us exactly why. They said, Trey Lance, we have no reason to think that you can be the starting quarterback of our team, but you are now the starting quarterback of our team.
Yeah, it's just real. It makes no sense. I mean, I regret not taking the Rams last week. Obviously, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm going to take them this week. It just seems like one team is, even though they're still figuring things out, they're still on more of a set path than the 49ers can just go anywhere throughout the rest of the season. Like the bottom could fall out, or they could make a playoff run. Nobody really knows what they are yet. And given these two teams and their fates, I will take the Rams, especially when they're giving up 2 points right now.
Okay. And Carl, remind me who you took again, just so that we're on the record here.
I took the Rams.
Okay. America. Heads up. It's time to bet the 49ers. I don't feel good about this. I thought the Rams would be favored by like 4 or 5 points. And now the Niners are favored by 2 to 2.5. That line is moving. And that just tells me that Vegas knows something I don't. Mm-hmm. Or that I need to talk about how paranoid I am in therapy this week. One or the other, maybe both. Either way, in my imaginary value chart, that means I'm getting like 6 points of value for the Rams. In real life, it's only about 2 to 2.5 points. But I'll take it because I think that they should be favored in this game. So give me the Rams, give me the points on Monday Night Football. It's going to be an interesting week for the 3-man rush. And I think that's our parlay later, boys. It's just all the picks that we have agreed upon, bet against them. So we'll recap that later. Not bad teams. If you're interested in a little bit of cheddar there. All right, moving on. The Seattle Seahawks are headed to Detroit to take on the Lions, who are only favored by 4.5 points. The Lions had a bigger spread last week, I think. No, I'm sorry. This opened bigger. I believe the Lions were favored, by 6 when this opened. A lot of respect for Detroit, but it sounds like people are hammering the Seahawks and taking those points. It's down to 4.5. So, Carl, does that deter you, or are you just thinking that this is a little bit juicier and an easy bet for Detroit?
This is a little bit closer to what I had it. I have it at 4.69, and if the line's at 4.5, that's like right in line. The Lions are actually one of the like top scoring teams in the league. They're like number 3 in scoring. Mm-hmm. So if they can put up points, they can compete with anyone. Their problem is obviously on defense. They're giving up points. I haven't seen much from Seattle in terms of putting stuff on the board. Again, they did play Denver, who's one of the better ranked defenses, but I don't know. I think if the Lions are going to have this game at home, it's going to play a little bit of a factor in there. 4.5 is a weird number. So again, I mean, honestly, what's the difference between 4.5 and 6? You know what I mean? So if I'm going to like it at 6, I'm also going to like it at 4.5, 4.5 and 6. So I'll take the Lions here minus the 4.5. And if the line keeps dropping, then we'll obviously wait to see where it ends up at before actually putting a bet down on it. But for the podcast, give me 4.5.
Are you worried about that? And Tommy, I'll actually let you answer this for Carl. Are we worried? Because DeAndre Swift is not going to play, it sounds like. And Amon-Ra St. Brown may also be out of this game. So we just talked about that high-scoring Lions offense. The two biggest contributing skill players to that offense may not play. And then we're just left with Jared Goff and a bunch of sitting ducks. Maybe he is the sitting duck. All of the above. So, I don't know, Tommy?
That is a good point. I honestly forgot about DeAndre Swift. However, the Lions do have one of the better backup running backs in the NFL, and Jamal Williams. They've both handled the workload fairly evenly this year. Well, maybe not evenly, but they've both been very good contributors to that team. And if it's for one game against this Seattle team, I think Jamal Williams will be able to handle it. I just don't understand why the line is dropping, considering they just lost to the Falcons. The Seahawks did. And I would still take, even with these injuries, I would take this Lions roster over the Falcons roster. So yeah, I'm not worried. I think for 1 week for these injuries, the Lions will be able to handle it. So give me the Lions here with that 4.5.
America, bet the Seahawks. I'm going with the Lions. The Seahawks suck.
So bad.
I don't really feel great about Jared Goff without his two best weapons. But I do think that this is a well-coached, ironically enough, Lions team with Dan Campbell. I think they play hard. I think they fight. And 4.5 it's a low enough number for me to feel okay about it. For them to cover against the Seahawks. I'm probably going to regret it, but I'm going with the Lions. This is going to be a massive 14 parlay for America. So
for now, it could grow.
It could grow.
It probably will.
Yep.
Moving on, we're going to Indianapolis, where all right, you know what, Carl? Why don't you just take this? Can you just introduce this game and tell me about the Colts? Because I'm a little bit bitter after what happened last week.
Okay, so for anyone that didn't listen last week, I made the bold prediction not only that the Colts would cover against the Chiefs, I said that they would win outright. I even have a receipt that I put actual cold hard cash money on that game, and it worked out well for me. So,
which you sent a screenshot of literally the second that game ended and was like, sorry, suckers.
Yeah. I think I said suck on these nuts, actually.
You did.
And sent some emojis.
You did. You were like Lance Armstrong.
I said
you only sent one nut emoji, which Tommy immediately pointed out. Again, just getting the reps in for the 3-man gush.
That's correct. Yeah, Colts Titans division matchup, 3.5 point spread, which I think is perfect for the actual game. Battle of the running backs that haven't been performing. So we'll see. Whoever can step up this week is probably going to be able to win this game. But they've played each other a handful of times collectively over the last couple of years. They play each other twice a year, so they're familiar with each other. So I don't know. A field goal game sounds about right. I'm going to go on the Titans here just because they're getting the 3.5. Yeah, I don't love it. I'm not in love with any of these picks so far. Especially with it being in Indy, but a division game decided by 3 points. I mean, who says that can't happen? So give me the Titans. They either lose a close game or they get blown out or win. I'll take that too.
Oh my God.
But give me the Titans for the official pick. King
Anything
Henry
is possible in football. Thank you,
True.
Carl. Tommy, anything to add?
I actually agree with a lot of Carl's assessment that like these teams have played each other a lot. They know each other.
Anything is possible.
I also agree with that.
There's three outcomes.
Yeah. The only outcome that can't happen is 1-0. So that we know we don't have to bet on. But I do agree that they played each other a lot. They know each other very, very well. But I'm going to go on the other side because I think the key difference is that Matt Ryan is at quarterback and not Carson Wentz. And the Titans have not seen Matt Ryan with this offense yet. And I think that the Colts could take advantage of that and throw some looks at them that they haven't seen. So at home, only 3.5 points of a spread. I'll take the Colts here for this one. I don't like the Titans.
If we're keeping track at home, the analysis here is anything can happen. They play each other a lot, and the Colts have a new quarterback.
Yeah. Sounds about right. I think we hit everything we needed to.
Wow. Nice work, boys. I have nothing to add, actually. I can't even make fun of you because I really have nothing to add to that. I'm taking the Colts. I think the Titans suck. End of the day.
Yeah.
Great.
Sweet.
All right. Dollar Bill Island for Carl coming your way. That's another bet for America to make. Keeping track. Moving on. The Cleveland Browns. This is weird. The Cleveland Browns are only 1.5 point favorites heading on the road to take on the Atlanta Falcons. The total here is 49.5 points. It's a 1:00 game for you. Carl, what is going on here? Why are the Browns only favored by 1.5? My alarm bells are going off. The Browns are better than that, aren't they?
I would think so, which again leads me to believe that all of my data was incorrectly uploaded because I have no idea what the hell is going on with my spreadsheet. I mean, I have the Browns, I have them favorites, but like, why are my predictions so far off from the lines this week? So either I'm going to have a really good week because I'm way smarter than Vegas, or I'm going to wake up from that dream and realize it was all a nightmare because Vegas never loses. That being said, I'm on Cleveland's side. Atlanta beat the Seahawks last week, which is, again, not a great matchup on paper, I guess. And the Browns are coming off a division win 10 days ago over the Steelers, so they've had time to rest. So I don't know why the line is what it is. We just have to bet what we see, and I'm going to go with the Browns here, laying 1.5. And again, at that low of a spread in real life, I probably won't even waste my time with a 1.5. I'll probably just pay a little bit more to take the money line.
Vegas never loses is absolutely the shirt that we need to make. And I think we all need to be on red alert for this one. But Tommy, you tell me what side you're going to be on.
So here's the surprising stat of the pod. For the PFF grades for amongst quarterbacks, we have Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts leading the way at 1 and 2, which is not surprising. Tua and Josh Allen are 4 and 5, so that rounds out our MVP discussion from earlier. Sliding in between those two groups at number 3 is good old Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett.
And so I think to see this team to have they have the talent level of a playoff team. They have the pieces surrounding Jacoby Brissett between their probably one of the best running games in the league. And then they have Amari Cooper and David Njoku, I think, is going to have he had a really good week and he can build off on that. Seeing all of that and only -1.5, I'm as surprised as you guys are. I'm going to fall right into the trap and I'm going to take the Browns here.
Probably something to add.
Well, I feel like this line was already under a field goal before the Myles Garrett situation. So I was thinking like mentally, like, did that play a factor? Is he going to play? Like, what's his status? But that didn't even affect the line, really. It was already under a field goal. So I'm still confused. But I like the analysis about the quarterback rating for Jacoby Brissett. I think that helps our case. But, Pat?
This line opened as Browns -3. I think the Falcons are getting a lot of credit. I think Vegas sees a Browns team that has, to this point, relatively underperformed relative to their expectation. In spite of Jacoby Brissett, and I don't think anybody expected Jacoby Brissett to be as good, quote unquote, as he's been, and I don't know if we really expected the Browns to be as bad as they've been. So I don't know, but this line opened at Browns by 3. I think Vegas just set a trap. The Falcons are spunky. They almost beat the Rams. They did beat the Seahawks. And the Seahawks beat the Broncos, so they must be good by some property of math, right? I don't know. It feels like a trap to bet the Falcons. And now that America has done that for me and moved the line down, I am also going to go with the Browns because only 1.5 points. It just, I don't know. They should win the game. So they only have to win by 2. So bet the Falcons, America.
Mhm.
Bet the Falcons.
Another one.
Groundbreaking analysis here.
We gotta stop letting Pat go last. He just keeps jumping on our pick.
Seriously.
Seriously.
Petition for the pod.
One of 2 things happened this week. There's no movement in our records, or Carl takes a commanding lead because Tommy and I keep making the same picks if we're not in agreement on all 3 of us together. Don't love that. All right, moving on. The Commanders are in Dallas to face the Cowboys, who are 3-point favorites. Tommy, take it away. Who wins this one?
Before I get into that game, not even do we not keep making the same picks. The only one we have different is the Thursday night game. So that should be fun for us to handle on Sunday.
I hate that for us.
I think for this game, this is another tough one. But you know what? Cooper Rush hasn't looked out of place. He's looked good for them. And only getting 3 points, I think that their defense is going to get after. I think they're going to hound Carson Wentz. And I think that they have the running game that can work in tandem with that to just put their throats on the Commanders and just take this one going away. 3 points at home is a really small spread to hit. And I think the Cowboys are just going to start getting on a roll here. So give me the Cowboys.
Carl?
Yeah, I'm on it. Cowboys by 1 million, but maybe not literally, but they just fly around the field. They make plays, and I saw a lot of like decent play calls on the offensive side. I think having, I don't know, there's got to be some other examples, but I think having like a less mobile quarterback kind of forces you to like run certain types of plays. And I think getting the ball in certain situations to Pollard and Zeke and, like whatever it might be to like move the ball around, where you don't have to like put plays in for Dak Prescott to be on the bootleg or to run draws or options and stuff like that, where you just like run a straight, like no frills running game. Like there was one play, they gained a shit ton of yards last night, as I was recording the podcast, where it was like a toss play and like the wide receiver blocked down and there were like 3 pulling linemen and Zeke was just like had nobody there to avoid. He was running like 15 yards downfield free. And it's like you expect Zeke to run up the tackles and you're like giving him a like lead toss play. It's like, how can you stop that? But that's just like, would they have done that with Dak Prescott in the game, or would they either ran a run straight up the middle or a play action bootleg off of that? You know what I mean? Like just different plays, different looks. And he's throwing the ball really well. If CeeDee Lamb could catch a pass downfield, I think that game's like way, way different and way more of a blowout than it should have been. I saw a stat that the Giants didn't even have a play in the red zone last night. So they scored that many points without even taking one snap in the red zone. So you can fact check me on that. But Cowboys defense look legit. So I'm going to ride with the Cowboys.
We do not check facts on this podcast. Tommy, you mentioned Cooper Rush there. Fun fact, courtesy of NFL research. Cooper Rush is the first undrafted quarterback to win each of his first 3 NFL starts and throw for over 750 yards in those starts combined since some little guy, you might have heard of him, named Kurt Warner in 1999. And I don't know if you remember what Kurt Warner did in 1999 with the Rams, but he just won an MVP and a Super Bowl MVP.
What's the trophy?
So with that said, I'm taking the Cowboys, but do we have a quarterback controversy in Dallas?
No.
Probably
Should
not.
Should we?
I was gonna say not with Jerry Jones at the helm.
Jerry Jones is the guy that brought it up. He stirred it up. He said, I would love for us to have a controversy and have Cooper Rush play well enough for us to consider not playing Dak. And lo and behold, that's just exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Well, that's because that's because he knows if there's a controversy, his team's winning games.
Fair enough. Touche.
He never said that there would be a discussion about keeping him in or not. He just wanted to be able to talk about it because that means his team's still playing for something.
And Jerry loves the drama.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, Dak might actually play in this game as well. So I'm taking the Cowboys by 3 with Cooper Rush. I don't think my mind changes with Dak, right?
I don't know. The only aspect I could think of is their receiving core would take a hit because, I mean, Michael Gallup might come back as well, but the connection that Cooper Rush and Noah Brown have, considering that they've been on these practice squads, like playing as the other team in practice for 5 years in a row together, they have built this chemistry that is undeniable. And if you're bringing both Michael Gallup and Dak back and they're ramping up to 100%, that makes it a little bit more questionable to me than if you have Cooper Rush in there with Noah Brown for this week.
It's a really good point. So are we fading Dak Prescott this week? Can I get you to say that on the record? Mr. Dak is elite.
I'm considering it.
Okay, I'll take that. So for now, consensus across the board with Cooper Rush, we're taking the Cowboys -3.
Yes.
Sure.
Bet Washington, America. Bet Washington. All right. The LA Chargers are headed to Houston to take on the Texans, where the Chargers are 4.5-point favorites. Total here is only 44.5 points. This is a 1:00 matchup. I don't know what to do with the Chargers anymore. So who wants to go first and try to make sense of it for me?
I'll fall on this sword because I also don't know what to do. Like I said, I did like the Texans coming in as like a spunky team, and I think 4.5 with this Charger squad and the injuries that they have is within reach, especially at home. But I have to stick with my guns, and even with the injuries, I think the Chargers are a step above the Texans. I think that they're going to have like a little bounce back game here. We'll see how they look going forward after this though, but I'll take them. Even laying 4.5 points, I'll take them over Houston.
Carl, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think without all the injuries, it's probably closer to like a 10-point spread. So are the injuries worth 5.5 points? Maybe. I mean, like we talked about with the Jaguars, we're already kind of high on the Jaguars and what they've been doing. And the injuries that happen throughout the game are really demoralizing, especially in the moment. So I think with a week of practice, injuries out of the way, assuming health stays good through the game. I think 4.5 again is a weird spread, but I'm going to take the Chargers anyway, laying the points, assuming that like in a normal situation, they'd be able to win this game by close to like 10. So if they can just keep it on the offense and, support the defense a little bit, I think they'll be in good shape, but we'll see what happens.
Bet Houston, America. Bet Houston. Sometimes the best part about doing this podcast on Tuesday nights is that America has a chance to react because this line opened still, despite all the injuries, at Chargers by 6.5. And as those injuries have trickled out, America, the world, is hammering Houston. So this line has now moved down 2 points, which is just low enough for me to feel comfortable laying those points and still taking LA. If it was 6.5, I mean, shit, I'd probably still take the Chargers because they really should win, but I wouldn't feel great about it. I don't feel as good about Houston as I did and about their spunkiness and their fight as I did earlier in the season. Those two things combined, give me the Chargers. We are just like literally our last 3 games, we are unanimously have agreed. So not.
Well, I feel good about the picks now for me personally because like it's going to be really tough to make up ground if we're all just picking the same team. So
I was just gonna say pick late is a pick played, but so I'm gonna stick with the Chargers. Had I known that you guys were both picking the Chargers, I would have gone the other way. I would have picked the Texans.
Just to be contrarian and see if you can grab a point. Fair enough.
Yep.
all right, maybe the next game.
All right, fair enough. So I'll be nice here. I'll go first because Tommy, you're right. I have claimed every team in the NFL because this is my Arizona Cardinals, the 2021 my Arizona Cardinals against my 2022. I don't even want to call them my Carolina Panthers. I think they're better. I think we've overrated the detriment that is Matt Rule. Vegas might finally be catching up because the Panthers are favored by 2 in this matchup. They're home for this one against the Cardinals. Total here is 42.5. One of just 3 games in the afternoon slate, which sucks because the other one is the Patriots, and I don't even want to watch it. We'll get to that soon, but for now, I'm going to take the Panthers. That's it. That's all I have for you. I'm taking the Panthers at home.
Is that the official pick?
I hate that. I really should go with the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are better. I don't think that. I don't know. Carl, you said it. I didn't even think this is going to be a hard week, and I have flip-flopped on every single one, but whatever. Pick late is a pick played. Give me Panthers -2.
Yeah, this one is tough for me too because I mean there is no Call of Duty big time weekends. Those are all done.
Oh, there's no double XP.
So
I know that.
you don't have to worry about that, but we do have to worry about JC Horn, who is having he was having a great rookie year last year for the Panthers before he got hurt, and he has picked up where he's left off. He's probably one of the top 5 corners right now in the NFL. And considering that the Cardinals still don't have Nuke, they have Hollywood Brown. Greg Dortch has been good. It's just a little bit tough, but with that all said, I'm still going to take the Cardinals here. I'll take the +2 here for me, and I'll differentiate a little bit. Let Carl decide.
No, yeah, man, I'm on the Cardinals too. I didn't really take into account the double XP weekend, but I think that the card. I mean, how can we bet for the Panthers? Honestly, like we talked about that. I mean, I have already bet on the
Panthers.
What dummy would bet on Matt Rule? Laying points.
I did, and I won last week. So
yeah,
thank you very much.
Literally, my explanation for betting against him was one of these teams is coached by Matt Rule, one is not. So give me the Saints, and that blew up my face.
Speaking of blowing up in your face, give us a follow, onlyfans.com/3manrush.
Jesus.
3-man gush. So yeah, my pick's going to be the Cardinals. Now, Pat, if we had picked the Cardinals first, would you have also picked the Cardinals or would you have picked the Panthers? No shot you would have taken the Panthers if me and Tommy were both on the Cardinals.
I was pretty convinced that I was going to go with the Panthers here to begin with. But now that I'm giving Kyler Murray points against Matt Rule, I don't feel great about it. This line opened as Panthers by 1. I thought it was going to be Panthers by 3. So we're splitting the difference now. I wish I was only laying 1 point. I really should have gone with the Cardinals. Fuck this week.
Rip.
Fuck this week. I picked the Panthers. Who knows what I would have done? Hindsight's 2020. Okay, this is the weirdest. I think this is the weirdest spread of the week. The Denver Broncos are on the road to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Denver Broncos, who have not played great, but we all expected to be better. This is the matchup of teams that we expected to be better. But one of them's the last 0-3 team in the NFL. That's the Raiders, and that's also the team who is favored by 2.5 points in this 425 matchup. Total here is 46 points. Do you guys want me to lead this off? Because I'm very comfortable with my pick here. I'm just going to go all in. The Raiders have fucked us. They have let us down. And Josh McDaniels is just doing Josh McDaniels things. I think he's 5-26 in his last 31 games as a head coach. After he started 6-0 with the Broncos all those years ago. And since then he's won 5 total games over several years with several teams. So I don't know When are they going to pull it together? It feels like the law of averages has finally come back to smack the Raiders in the face. They won a ton of games that they should not have won last year, and they're 0-3 right now. I don't like the Broncos, but they should not be getting points in this game. So give me the points. Give me the Broncos. I will take an extra 2.5 points because God knows Russell Wilson needs them.
Carl. Are you sure that you don't want to take the revenge narrative of Josh McDaniels playing a former team that he's coached like 15 years ago?
No, I left that on the silver platter just for Tommy.
So ironically enough, I have the Raiders as like a slight edge to win the game, like 0.23. But I'm going to go Broncos covering the spread, which means I'll probably end up taking Broncos money line to win outright. But for the podcast, I'll take the 2.5 points. I need Russell Wilson to like be Russell Wilson. So like this is the battle. I think the reason why the line is
all
what
of
it is-
Denver agrees with you. All of Colorado.
the way the line is the way it is because of the coaching matchup being so bad. Like that coaching tier that we listed, like Hackett is just getting in the way of these games.
Mhm.
So I mean,
he's in the too early to tell category, but after 3 weeks, I feel like he really fucking sucks.
Yeah. But we're gonna go with it anyway because one of these days they're gonna let Russ cook, and he's gonna put up more than 15 fantasy points.
I sent you guys a meme this week, and I didn't get the reaction that I needed. But right now, like it was like let Russ cook, and it was like a bowl of cereal with 2 raw hot dogs in it,
and a slice of cheese.
Yeah, and like that's it's like which cooking are we getting from Russ? Is it the hot dog cereal or is it like a fillet? Tommy, what do you think?
I mean, I don't know which Russ we're getting. I know which Nathaniel Hackett we're getting, which isn't a good one. I know which Josh McDaniels we're getting. It's not a good one. I feel like this whole week has been us the biggest laying traps for me, and I'm just falling right in them. But you know what? For this one, I don't think that there's going to be a winless team after this week.
Whoa.
So I'm going to take the Raiders here. I think this is a make or break game for both of them. And because after they lost last week, there was a lengthy conversation between Mark Davis and Josh McDaniels. And it would be a very Davis move if they lose this week to pull the plug. And if McDaniels knows that, I think that he's going to come out of here firing on all cylinders as much as Josh McDaniels can do. This is going to be the kitchen sink game for the Raiders. I'll take them here.
Carl, last week you asked if we could imagine a world where Josh McDaniels was back in New England by the end of the season. If he loses this week, I think I owe you an apology because after that long closed door meeting, you might be right. You might be onto something.
I would accept any apologies, gifts, financially, whatever it might be.
Coupons.
Good to know. All right, let's fly through these last one, boys. These are painful, especially when they involve our team. The Patriots are headed to Lambeau to get their teeth kicked in, where the Packers are favored by 10 points. A whole 10 points. This opened at 9.5. Vegas was like, Mac's not going to play. America was like, I don't care. Give me the Packers anyway. Bill Belichick is getting 10 points in a game. Has that ever happened before? I don't know. I don't know what to do with it.
It has happened twice. It was against KC a couple years ago, and then Tom Brady's first start ever.
KC with Jimmy Garoppolo? Who was our quarterback in that game?
No, I think this was the Cam Newton year.
Oh.
Which they covered, by the way.
They did.
And obviously, I'm pretty sure they covered the Brady one because I'm pretty sure they won that game. I'm not
Tom Brady won a game. I don't know. Crazy.
Yeah. The numbers
on
would
a
back
Super
me up
Bowl
on that
champion.
too.
Weird Tom Brady. Okay. So is this the start of like Billy Zappi as the future Tom Brady? Are we getting Axel Brian Hoyer? I don't know. Somebody talk. I don't want to watch. I'm so upset that the Patriots are this bad. we lost Mac. Even if Mac threw 7 interceptions, man, Carl, your wife was just shitting all over. She's shitting my cereal all day.
Yeah, which was like bold talking for someone whose quarterback situation is Mitch Trubisky and
which is exactly what I said to her.
Little hands Kenny Pickett.
Exactly what I said to her. I said it's bold coming from someone who's rooted for Ben Roethlisberger for the last 5 years to suddenly be on your high horse. She appreciated that one. But I don't know. This is longer than I wanted to talk about the Patriots, and we haven't even gotten to this game yet. So
are you picking the Patriots or the Packers?
I don't know. It felt like the Packers easily, but Belichick with 10 points is pretty hard to do. So somebody else do it before I do. I'm the host. I don't have to pick first.
So I'll talk about a narrative here if we want to talk about narratives. You want to talk about a career as a backup because your name was given to you as Axel and you chose to go by Brian. Are you kidding me?
Should have trigger warning for Dan. Trigger warning for Dan. This
Yeah. Sorry, producer Dan. Brian Hoyer ain't it.
You just had a top 5 sick name handed to him, and you just went boring Brian. And that's why he's been a backup all these years. He's a glorified QB coach at this point. I think he's worse. He's a worse option than Cam Newton was when they were the 10-point underdogs to the Chiefs. You're going to Green Bay right now. Yeah, I'm going to take the Packers here. I think that this is the first time in Belichick's New England tenure that he doesn't cover a multi-double-digit spread.
Shout out to our friend and fantasy league comrade Brian, who's getting married soon. I don't think your name is boring.
It's not the name Brian. Like his middle name could be Tommy, and if you choose to go by Tommy over Axel, then you're just setting yourself up for failure.
I don't know. I heard boring Brian, and I think that's going on the record.
The alliteration was there.
I don't think Brian listens to this podcast, but I'm going to send him this clip. Carl, who are you taking?
Yeah, I'm going to take the points with the Patriots. Surprise. They're 0-3 versus the spread this season, though. So are they due, or are they just really bad at football? I think the line should be 9.5, which is where it opened up. But if I'm going to get 10 points, I'll take the double digits. Double-digit spreads like this, though, ideally lean towards the under. So if you're interested in anything at all, maybe look at the under in this game, especially with the quarterback situation. Look for the Patriots to try and play super, super, super strict defense to try and keep it close. And then worst case scenario, it ends up being a blowout and the Patriots don't score points. And you just hope that the Packers don't put up enough to push that over. So I don't actually have the over-under number. I can pull it up in about 0.3 seconds.
It is 40.5.
40.5.
Pretty low anyways.
Well, I'll tell you this, 71% of the bets, at least according to this app, are on the over, but the line has gone from 42 to 40.5. So people are betting the over, but the line's going down. That usually means the under is a good idea. So like I said, under, and again, I don't think there's a high percentage chance that the Patriots win this game, but if I'm going to get points that high, I'll take the 10 points.
Maybe we could tease the under with the Patriots. Get the Patriots to plus 16.
Do you feel comfortable that if the Patriots lose,
or we want to tease the over?
You want to tease no, I want to tease the under personally.
Well, how do we get this to like 34, 35 and get the Patriots getting 16 points?
Oh, you want to drop the line down. So you'd want to tease the over.
Tease the over.
I would go the other way.
We could tease the under. That's the thing that we could do. So go under 46 and give the Patriots 16 points. Either way, I don't hate it. It's fun to play with big numbers. It's also a trap.
It is also a trap.
I don't know what to do. I can see a Bill Belichick team kind of being stingy on defense, but then they also just did what they did with the Ravens, but Lamar Jackson might be the MVP. So can you blame them? I don't know. I feel like I should just take the points. I'm going to take the points. This is longer than I want to talk about the Patriots. I'm taking the points, and I am go Pats.
Dang it.
Fuck me. All right, Bears and Giants. Giants are 3.5 point favorites. I don't know if the Giants are as good as 2-0. I don't think they are. I thought the Cowboys stunk, and they keep winning because Cooper Rush is maybe the best quarterback in football history. I don't know. Tommy, who do you like in this game? The Cooper Rush isn't playing for either team. He did get cut twice by the Giants, and then he lost it. He beat them on Monday night. So maybe it's just a bad karma streak going here. I don't know. Who do you like?
This is tough. I like the Giants at home. They just need to focus on every opportunity unless they have to focus on keeping the ball out of Daniel Jones's hands, or if you have to focus on dump off passes from Daniel Jones to Saquon Barkley, because they got away from that last night and it hampered them. I think the Bears are not even without Dak. I think the Bears aren't on the same level as the Cowboys are from talent and coaching wise. So if I'm only getting 3.5 points for the Giants, I'll take that.
You're taking the Giants?
Yes.
Okay, Carl, do you agree?
I do agree. I think like the Bears have. What are you mad that I agree? I think the Bears had a really weird game in week 1 versus the 49ers with the weather. And then this past week they beat the Texans. Which
and they should have lost that game. Davis Mills just threw an interception like from his own 20-yard line. It was going to go to overtime, or the Texans were going to kick a field goal to win the game. Davis Mills threw an interception, and then the Bears kicked the field goal to win the game.
Right. So I don't know. I think the 3.5 points is like a weird number, but I'm gonna just take the 3.5. If you can get it at 3, awesome. If you want to pay a little bit more, get it at 3, cool. But like, is it worth it? If you're going to take 3.5, you probably feel like they're going to win by more than that 3 anyway. So, give me the Giants for this one.
The Giants shouldn't be favored by 3.5 points over anybody, but Justin Fields has completed 23 passes in 3 games, 23 total passes in 3 games this season, and the Bears are 2-1. If you took like a Bears under win total on the season, my apologies. I'm going to take the Giants in this one, but I don't know. Neither of these teams are actually good, but we'll find out which one's worse. So Giants, which means America at Chicago. All right, last game of the week here. Tommy, did you have one more thing to add?
I was going to say, even though Khalil Herbert balled out last week, if David Montgomery is hurt, then the Giants only have to key in on one running back for the Bears, which could help their cause even more.
Love it. All right, last game of the week. The New York Football Jets are taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are favored at home by 3.5 points. Carl, as the resident Steeler household of the podcast, you tell me who's winning this game. Or, sorry, who's going to cover? Who are you taking?
I'm going to take the Steelers to win and cover, probably by a touchdown. This is not just like a charity pick for my wife. To keep us together after a couple weeks of betting against them. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see a lot from the Jets. The division that the Steelers play in, I think, just makes them that much slightly better of a team anyway. Like the Jets didn't really put up a fight against Cincinnati. Process of elimination, Steelers beat Cincinnati, so let's go with the Steelers by 6. Maybe we'll get a missed extra point. I don't know. 2 field goals. Maybe this will just be a field goal off, and the score will be like 9-3.
Tommy,
Yankees versus Pirates.
When Carl pushes the spread further than it needs to be, should we just start holding him to it? Like, should the Steelers actually have to cover 6 points now?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's our handicap. Is when he's dumb enough to do that, we let him.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's funny. I picked the Colts last week, straight up.
All right, fuck you. I'm taking the Jets. Tommy?
I was hoping to be on an island this week because I am also taking the Jets.
I'm sorry.
Thought process is that this lineup, speaking of our theme, speaking of our theme for coaching and everything, I thought that this long week break, soft matchup for the Jets, I thought that this lined up perfectly to get Mitch Trubisky out of there and get Kenny Pickett extra practice days and a nice little matchup, even though it's against Sauce Gardner. I just don't understand why the Steelers aren't doing that. Mr. Trubisky has shown you everything that he is, which is not an NFL starter. And I just think that decision is going to come back to haunt them this week. And Joe Flacco's already beaten one AFC North team this year. He can beat another.
The Steelers, for the record, have a gauntlet of a schedule coming up. They face, in order after this week, the Buffalo Bills, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Miami Dolphins, the Philadelphia Eagles, the New Orleans Saints, and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh my God.
And just to top it off, Carl's Indianapolis Colts. So it's a gauntlet. I don't know.
Yeah, that's bad.
Tough year to be a rookie quarterback in Pittsburgh. Great. That's every game around the NFL this season. So really quickly, we're going to wrap up here with our best bets of the season. Of the week, not of the season, because this week is going to be a shit show. Last week, Tommy said he was taking the Ravens by 3 in New England. That hit. I was taking the Chiefs by 6.5. That did not. And Carl was taking the Seahawks by 2.5. Also did not hit. So Tommy, good job by you.
Thanks.
You got a point. I did not. I don't know what the total is for the season because I messed up the numbers in our outline. So we'll tell you next week, but we're going to kick it off here with our best bets draft. And I'm going to lead us off here. I told you right at the top to put it in the books. I'm going with the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. Tua be damned. Teddy Bridgewater be damned. The Bengals got to show me that they're a good team. And I would like the Dolphins to show out and show me that their defense is what I think it is. So give me the Dolphins and give me the points. That is my best bet of the week. Tommy, you're up.
Oh boy, this is already a tough one. But you know what? I think I'm gonna stick with a guy that I've trusted a lot over the past couple of decades. I'm gonna stick with Tom Brady. So give me the Buccaneers over the Chiefs, +2 over the Chiefs for my best bet. I don't have any confidence in it, but let's go with it.
Love that. Carl, any more confidence to finish this off for us?
Yeah, I like to pick one of my dollar bill possibilities as one of my picks.
Dollar bill.
Yeah, okay. It's not a guaranteed victory, but I might as well go for it, especially if we're all agreeing on most of these games. So I think we're going to go bright and early in London. Let's go to the Saints. Bring them in. Saints.
I like it. Okay.
Not enough to pick the Saints. You like my bet, but you didn't pick the Saints.
No, I just like that we're all taking points here in our best bets. So
beautiful.
Good job by us. All right. We didn't give you a parlay party last week, so we're going to give you a quick little taste of a parlay this week. So get hyped, people. Time to kick things off. We're going to wrap things up with a bang with the parlay party. Here's one that I'm going to give you really quick. It's a nice little underdog parlay. I am, if I can find it, I'm going to take the LA Rams, who are getting 2 points, and the Denver Broncos, who are getting 2.5 points. We're going to combine them together in a little parlay, and that gives you a +264 outcome. So you can win $264 if you bet 100. Don't hate that.
Don't hate it.
And then, beyond that, if you just want to recap of everything that you should bet against us, because #fade the 3-man rush, you should pick the Bears because we all picked the Giants. You should pick the Texans because we all picked the Chargers. The Commanders because we all like the Cowboys. The Falcons because we all like the Browns. The Seahawks because, all right, don't do this, because we all like the Lions. The 49ers because we all like the Rams, even though I just told you to bet the 49ers I didn't. I told you to bet the Rams. This podcast is off the rails. You could also bet the Bills and the Chiefs because we all picked the Ravens and the Bucks respectively. So I'm not even going to calculate that for you. You're just going to get astronomical odds because it's like a 10-team parlay to fade all the things that we agreed on this week. So you can do that math in your own time because we are out of time. We have taken up too much of your time already. So if you're still here, why?
Thank you.
Please come back next week. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Tommy,
Please, good luck at your sports book this week.
take the points, people.
3-man gush.
Can we get a little ASMR 3-man gush?